Welcome into a Friday edition of the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. Another loaded show for you. We've been loaded all week, actually. Matt Alquiza in the house from Charlotte Hornets on SI, beat writer for the Charlotte Hornets. He's going to talk a little Hornets and NBA news that we haven't gotten this week. And a special treat and exclusive, I got a chance to interview former East Forsyth four-star quarterback Bryce Baker, who was at UNC and is transferring to Virginia Tech. We got a chance to sit down. I wanted to hear from a college athlete what it's like being in the transfer portal in 2026. And he's going to answer some of those questions. And he'll talk a little bit about why he went to Virginia Tech from UNC. So we got all that and more here on a Friday edition, a live edition of the Desmond Johnson Show. Let's go ahead and roll that intro.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city need that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you won't and get your weed wet. I'm going harder than a martyr on the slaughter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's fourth and inches. I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And again, welcome into the Desmond Johnson Show. It's a Friday edition here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Make sure you rate and subscribe over at the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio. And of course, every Friday in the Triad on terrestrial radio, you can hear the best of the week from the Desmond Johnson Show. WWBG 1470 AM at 5 p.m. in Greensboro, Guilford County. WTOB 980 AM, 96.7 FM in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. Matt Alquiza here with us on this episode here on Friday. And Matt, the Charlotte Hornets, getting a quick check-in with them. They're 4-6 over their last 10 games, but they had a huge win last night over the Lakers on the road. LaMelo Ball with 30 points and 11 assists. I'm seeing these, maybe you can clarify for me. I thought I saw a stat somewhere where the core of LaMelo Ball, Con Knueppel, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller have like the highest like plus minus or something per 32 minutes of any group in the league or something crazy like that. Do you think this core can actually work? We've fiddled around with different young cores with the Hornets over the past millennia, it feels like. And it feels like maybe they've stumbled on something with these four, if they can keep them all on the floor. Give me your thoughts on what you've seen so far here about the quarter pole mark in the NBA regarding the Hornets and this young core.
Yeah, to clarify your stat, the starting five of LaMelo Ball, Con Knueppel, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Moussa Diabate, that five-man lineup for a few weeks was like the best lineup in basketball. They've slipped, to say they've slipped is even crazy. Of lineups that have played 100 possessions together, they are 9th in the league in net rating right now. So plus 28.2 when that five is on the floor together. So playing really good basketball. Yeah, man, I think the core, it can work. The three guys that are, the major members of the young core, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Con Knueppel, there is just this intoxicating combination of dribbling, passing, and shooting. And those three guys can just play off of each other so well. I was talking to somebody on a different show this morning about how it doesn't, each of those guys have had their turn to like run the offense for possessions at a time where like LaMelo gets hot and he's your go-to guy. And then Brandon gets a mismatch and he scores a couple buckets in a row. And Con is just like your steady knockdown shooter that can give you a little bit off the bounce. So it's like each of those three guys have their turn to run the offense, but it doesn't feel like they're taking turns, if that makes sense. It's not like LaMelo, take the ball and go. Brandon, take the ball and go. Charles Lee, the head coach of the Hornets, has developed this offensive system that really maximizes the strength of those three guys. And just in the flow of what they're doing, each of those three are able to get to their spots and get their own. And it's been really fun. Over the last 2 weeks, the Hornets have the second best offense in basketball since LaMelo Ball came back from his ankle injury on December 18th. They also have the second best offense in basketball. They're at the 8th best net rating according to Cleaning the Glass in that time. So playing really good basketball. We've kind of seen it really come to a head here recently. A 55-point win in Utah on Saturday, as people were kind of licking their wounds from the Hornets game. Close game against the Clippers earlier this week, and then a blowout of the Lakers last night.
Yeah, I'm seeing like weird, crazy numbers coming across my board when I'm seeing the Hornet stuff come across. Them dropping 150 on the Jazz a couple of nights ago as they go through this West Coast swing. It feels like, as the trade deadline's starting to approach us, it feels like they need a young big man to go with this core four. Is there anyone that you have your eyes on potentially trade-wise? Because it's funny, tomorrow, and actually we have the Hornets Radio Network. I should have said that to start off the segment. If you want to hear Charlotte Hornets in the Triad, you can on WWBG 1470 AM. Tobacco Road Sports Radio is the partner with the Hornets Radio Network here in the Triad. So you can hear all these games throughout the season and not pay a dime for them. So it's funny because they're going to play Golden State on the 17th, and word is Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors are not getting along. He has not played or something in a couple of nights. He's pretty much going to get traded. Would you go after somebody like a Jonathan Kuminga for that role, or is there a specific kind of big man that you would be looking for, or are you willing to wait until you get to the draft?
I'm leaning towards just waiting till they get to the draft at this point. There's clearly something going on that is good with this group. Del Curry had a media availability yesterday. You know, his number is getting retired at the Spectrum Center. And he was even saying that, like, kind of feels like Charlotte is moving in the right direction for the first time in a while. You can feel like a sense of just like growth in the building, that this young core is kind of like starting to work together for an extended period of time. So I think Charlotte, their best bet is just to kind of ride it out and see what happens. They're 14 and no, I think have 16, 17 wins right now out of the play-in race. I think if they outpace that in the second half of the season and they find their way into like the 8 or 9 seed, they get a chance to play in one of those play-in games, and maybe you win it and you get a chance to play a legitimate playoff series. I think that is kind of the most important step for this Hornets team right now. They've got plenty of talent in the building. They go 10 deep of guys that, you know, can play in an NBA rotation. I think they just need to get some seasoning on the biggest stage right now. And if you just keep this group that you have, you let them play meaningful basketball in March, April, potentially into May with the guys that are already in the building, I think that's the step they need to make, not bringing in some like talent from outside right now to kind of like upset the apple cart of what is clearly working over these last few weeks now that everybody is healthy.
Kind of the same situation that the Carolina Panthers fan base is going through right now, where we've been told to be patient for like a decade, and now it's like you're kind of being told to be patient again. They're doing it the right way. They're building it the right way, the way that we would expect them to do it. But it's going to take some time because of all the missteps that happened previously, where you're still having to clear some things out. And I'm very impressed with the rookie class that has come in here. Con Knippel, we'll get to him in a second. Zion James and Ryan Kalkbrenner have all contributed. I don't know if Zion's missed any games. I thought I saw a stat where it said he was the only one that hadn't. Yep. Yeah, so he's still the only one that's played in every game this year. And I did not have Zion James as a 82-game NBA player at Duke. He was solid. He's a dog, but I didn't know that he was going to be like this. Talk a little bit about the draft class this year and how much they've maybe changed the culture in Charlotte.
Yeah, man, they're awesome. When the Hornets drafted those 4 guys, it's Con, Zion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Liam McNeely. The overarching sentiment from the draft community and folks that scout these players coming to the draft is that Charlotte drafted a bunch of winners, guys that can change the culture with their work ethic, with their like previous success in the game of basketball, and how they're kind of bringing that to Charlotte and kind of like resetting the standard as to what Hornets basketball is. Because I mean, you just said it. They've been telling the fans to be patient for a decade now, since the Hornets' last playoff berth. That sentiment gets old after a while. And, you know, you eventually have to get this influx of talent that raises the standard from patience, we're building to like, all right, now it's time to kind of hit the gas. And I don't think Charlotte is there quite yet. They're not ready to make like the big all-in trade for another superstar. But the 4 guys they've brought in, like you said, have changed the culture in the building. They're a bunch of guys that winning is the expectation. Doesn't matter how good of a game Con Knippel or Zion James had. If they lose, they come up to the post-game press conference, they meet with media afterwards, and they're disappointed. It doesn't matter. Like, the stats don't matter. Those guys want to win, and you can kind of feel like the energy shifting in the building. That is kind of the standard, is to win games. It's not just to like put up gaudy stats and have a bunch of TikTok highlights. Like, this team is ready to win. They're trying to win games right now, and you're kind of seeing the competitive nature of the entire group raise as the season goes on, as these rookies get more ingrained into the Hornets' overall system.
Hornets beat writer Matt Alquiza joining us here on a Friday live edition of the Desmond Johnson Show as we go around the Charlotte Hornets and around the NBA. Concanipple, I've run out of good things to say about this kid. He's amazing. I'm starting to expect all of his threes to go in, and there's only one other player in the NBA that I'm like that with, and that's Steph Curry. In terms of if he's throwing it up there, odds are it's going to probably go in. His game is just so solid, like just fundamental, like just everything he does just makes sense. And he seems like he's that guy that the Hornets needed to kind of settle everything. And I remember when we were talking before, I was saying that Cooper Flagg would be perfect on this team at the 4, like if they could get him. And then when they didn't get him, we were like, well, that's typical Hornets, the guy that we're supposed to get, we're not going to end up getting. And we get Knipple with the 4th pick. I'm starting to feel like it might have been better off to have Knipple than Flagg. Your thoughts on the Rookie of the Year contest in the NBA? Is it going to come down to Flagg and Knipple? And if so, how crazy is it that Duke did not finish the job and win the national championship last year with these guys in the starting line? Zion James was starting with them last year too. So who do you have as Rookie of the Year right now in January?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a little bit biased because I've watched every minute Knipple has played in the NBA, but it's hard for me to not have him as the Rookie of the Year right now. Cooper Flagg has kind of had like more peaks and valleys than Con. He's had some huge blow-up games where you kind of see like the full Cooper Flagg package, the shooting, the playmaking, the defensive versatility. Come like on a big stage, he got to play on Christmas. He had a game like a week or two before that. It was like a 30-point triple-double. But Con has just been like a steady drumbeat the entire season for the Hornets. He has been like the metronome that, like you said, the team has needed. A lot of their talent, a lot of the guys on the roster kind of like fluctuate from game to game, but Con is just super steady. You know that you're getting 18 points, a couple of rebounds, a couple of made threes, and he does have those like spike nights. He had his first game back in his hometown of Milwaukee where he scored 30-something points and hit a game-tying 3 to send it to overtime. But you just know, like Con has been like steady as she goes. Very impressive. He's added more and more to his plate as the season has gone on. He's not just a spot-up three-point shooter. He's a creator. He's getting shots off the bounce, looking for openings for his teammates. Just like a really well-rounded offensive game while also playing some solid defense on like really good NBA wings. He was the primary defender on Luka Doncic last night. And although Luka got off in the first quarter, Con did a pretty solid job playing defense on arguably the most talented offensive player in the league right now that Jokic is not playing with his injury. So yeah, Con, if it's kind of 50-50, I am leaning towards Con again, just because I'm biased and I've seen every single one of his minutes in the league so far, but he's kind of splitting hairs between those two in my opinion right now.
So before I get off of the Hornets, I'd be remiss if I did not mention that this week the Charlotte Hornets are retiring one of my favorite players of all time for the Hornets, Del Curry. They're retiring his number 30 jersey on March 19th. Curry was the 1994 Sixth Man of the Year, ranked 2nd in points in franchise history. He spent 10 of his 16 seasons in Charlotte from 88 to 98. He currently serves as a team ambassador. Thoughts on Curry getting his jersey retired? If I'm not mistaken, the last person to wear that number was his son, Seth Curry. So it's kind of symmetrical that his jersey get retired and the last person that wore it was actually Seth Curry. Thoughts on Dell being honored by the Hornets as really one of the foundational pieces from that early 90s run when they first got started? There was Dell, Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, Muggsy Bogues, Kendall Gill, that group that actually went into the playoffs, beat the ball, actually retired Larry Bird, beat the Boston Celtics in that series. And we haven't really gotten to that point since. Now I'm sitting there thinking about it. That was probably the peak of Hornets basketball. Thoughts on Del Curry getting his jersey retired?
Yeah, I mean, it's well-deserved. I can't think of a better ambassador for an NBA team than what Del Curry has been for the Hornets as a player, super successful, 6th Man of the Year in the top 5 of like every meaningful stat for a guard in Charlotte Hornets history. And then his just presence around the building. Media spoke to him on a Zoom call yesterday and kind of got to hear his thoughts on the trajectory of the organization and what it means to him. Just like such a well-spoken individual and somebody that you like want to be a face of the history of your franchise. He did say on that Zoom call yesterday that Steph has asked if they would bring the number 30 out of the rafters if he ever made a trip to Charlotte and became a Hornet. Del said yes. So Steph is already wondering, it's the thought in Steph's mind of rocking the number 30 in Charlotte like his dad and his brother. So I don't know, 2027, I think Steph is a free agent, maybe 2028, him riding off into the sunset wearing his dad's number 30 in Charlotte. And who knows, maybe at that point, Steph can be like his dad and win a 6th Man of the Year award as a Hornet, at that stage of his career. I don't know. I'm just kind of dreaming a little bit here, but
People
That
ask me,
thought has crossed Steph's mind.
would I take a 40-year-old Steph Curry? Yes.
I would take a 50-year-old Steph Curry. If you
Yes,
have him out there
absolutely.
shooting spot up threes, he's going to be a weapon
All
until
day.
he's
As long as you got a bicycle or something on the sideline to keep his legs moving, and
Absolutely.
he's doing what he does, whatever he does in the offseason, yes, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm running short on time with Matt. I want to ask you one quick around the league question. They did play the Lakers last night. I'm slowly starting to see clips of LeBron James kind of not playing basketball. He just he'll shoot something up and then not run back on defense. I've seen it like 10 times now over the course of the season since he came back from being injured earlier in the year. Did LeBron James stay 1 year too long? Is he hurting his legacy with the way he's playing right now? Because I know he's still averaging in the 20s and whatnot, but the Lakers feel like a lesser team now that he's back opposed to when they were playing before, which is Reeves and Doncic being the catalyst there. Did he stay a year too long?
I don't think he did. I mean, you just have to, everything that you say about LeBron right now is relative to the fact that he's 41 years old. I was texting some folks during the game last night. His burst with the ball in his hand is still as good as anybody in the league. Like, he can still just be a freight train getting downhill. So no, I don't think he's playing too long. It's kind of the doldrums of the season. It's mid-January. LeBron is not locked in from possession to possession like you expect him to be come April, come May, when the playoffs start. So no, I think he's still an effective basketball player. I think you need to scheme around him a little bit. He's not the supernova one-of-one talent, obviously, that he was 20 years ago, but still an impactful basketball player, at least on the offensive end. The defensive slippage has been coming for a while. That was always a cliff that LeBron was going to fall off playing at this age. But no, I think he's still like a useful NBA player. You just have to change your expectations for what you're getting from LeBron because he is 41 years old playing in a young man's league.
So there you go. Charlotte Hornets taking on the Golden State Warriors tomorrow night. You can actually hear that game on WWBG 1470 AM. That tip off, I believe, is at 7 o'clock. The pregame show will be on at 6:30 on WWBG. Follow Matt at M Alquiza 8 over on X for the latest on the Hornets throughout the week. And Matt, we appreciate you coming through.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Des. Take it easy.
All right, and there he goes. That's Matt Alquiza from the Hornets on SI Pod. I'm going to get it situated here. Earlier this week, I got a chance to talk to one of my favorite players from East Forsyth, Bryce Baker, quarterback, who originally signed with Bill Belichick in UNC, spent a year there, and then ended up moving over in the transfer portal this past season to Virginia Tech. So what we're going to do is get that situated right now. Just stick around for just a second, and we'll get that switched out for you guys. Welcome back into the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. Make sure you check out the best of the week every Friday on terrestrial radio here in the Triad, WWBG 1470 AM at 5 p.m. in Greensboro, WTOB 980 AM, 96.7 FM in Winston-Salem at 6 o'clock. So you can listen to the best of the Desmond Johnson Show during your drive home from work every Friday afternoon in the Triad. Joining me, got an exclusive, one of my guys, Bryce Baker, former East Forsyth quarterback, former UNC quarterback, now on his way to Blacksburg to play for James Franklin and Virginia Tech. What's going on, Bryce? How you doing?
My guy, Desmond, doing good.
Man, so I saw you earlier in the week, and I've been talking to Coach Willard. We're going to talk about Coach Willard just a bit, about getting some of the former players on, because you guys are really the first generation that's had to deal with NIL and the transfer portal, and it's like a wild, wild west out there, really, in terms of the schools. But for the players, I think it's the best time ever to be a player because you have so much freedom to do and go wherever you like. I know you made a tough decision over the past couple of weeks. You left North Carolina to hit the transfer portal. Wanted to talk to you about the number of kids that are in the portal. We had David Glenn on with us. He's on with us every other Tuesday. And when he was on with us last week, him and the North Carolina Sports Network, they're really good about tracking how many kids are in the portal right now. Last week, he told me there were 8,000 kids in the in the transfer portal. And that was last week. Yeah, so there's no telling how many in there now. They probably crossed over 10,000 at this point. What was the driving force for you and your family to decide to leave Carolina after one season and enter that wild, wild west of the transfer portal?
Yeah, Carolina was a blessing. I'll tell you right now. Like, there were so many lessons that were learned through Carolina. One of the biggest being just being a better leader overall, and just understanding how to meet people where they're at, and just kind of understanding everybody's comes from a different place and everybody has a different passion when it comes to football, but just embracing that and enjoying that about everybody and embracing their uniqueness. So, man, UNC was a beautiful place. And then when it comes to Blacksburg, I think the coaching staff drew me in, just through my relationships with them in the past. When Mac Brown left, Penn State was the only school that I visited in that decision to see if I was going to stay with the new staff at UNC or possibly open up and go to a different school. And just through my visit with Penn State, like Penn State honestly checked a lot of the boxes. And what drew me back to UNC was just that development aspect that I thought it was going to bring with Belichick being there and his staff. But when the opportunity came again for the second time, I think God rarely gives us second chances, but it was a blessing that I got a second chance, and I definitely hopped on that.
See, this is why I love Bryce Baker, because he already knew the questions I was going to ask before I got a chance to ask them. Because my very next question was: you landed at Virginia Tech, where former Penn State head coach James Franklin will take over the reins starting this year. Penn State was one of your finalist schools when you were deciding back in high school where you're going to go. How huge was it in your decision that Franklin landed at Virginia Tech? Was that one of the major factors that caused you and your mom and dad to kind of look at Virginia Tech as a legit possibility?
Yeah, no, for sure. Just through that visit, like you were saying, and one thing I didn't realize about Franklin was just the fact that he was at Vanderbilt before Penn State, and how Vanderbilt wasn't just up there as far as success-wise, and Penn State, even going to that situation, was better, but not up there as when he left it. It was better left than when he first got there. And even with this Virginia Tech situation, I think the reason behind that success is the culture that he brings to whichever college he's at and the leadership that he brings. And that visit to Virginia Tech, let's see, like 2 weekends now, confirmed that, and the culture that he's able to bring. And that's super intriguing, because I think that's everything when it comes to success.
Former four-star quarterback, East Forsyth quarterback Bryce Baker in the house, on his way to Blacksburg to play for James Franklin and the Virginia Tech Hokies in 2026. One of the reasons why, when I saw you earlier this week, and I had been talking to Coach Willard about getting you on, we talk about the transfer process, and we talk about what you kids are dealing with in terms of offers and being able to kind of shop yourself around or whatnot. But I hadn't had a chance yet to really talk to an athlete and ask them, what's it like on your end going through this process? Like, was this a quick process once you decided to hit the portal? Did it happen really fast, or was there like a certain type of, was there a path you had to take, like that all these kids have to take when they enter the portal? Like, kind of walk me through real quick in terms of, once you decided to hit the portal and you made it official, I assume you had to submit some kind of forms to the NCAA or something saying that you were going in. What happened from that point on? Because it felt like once you announced you were in the portal, it didn't take really long for you to get to land on Virginia Tech, maybe about a week or so. So like what happened during that week? And walk me through the eyes of you being the athlete going into this portal for the first time, not really knowing what to expect, or maybe you didn't know what to expect. And maybe that's why you hit the portal. I don't know. Like, what was it for you? Like, what made you decide to do this? And talk about the process as an athlete when you went into it.
Yeah, so like you said, you have to fill out a paperwork just confirming that you're confirming to transfer from UNC, and that really just lets all the staff and help know that you're looking to hit the portal. And through that process, that doesn't mean you have to leave the school, but it's just kind of a flag and kind of, hey, I kind of want to look at other options. And then from there, it's kind of on that staff or on that support system if they would accept you back if you were not to leave. And I never really got into the weeds about that at UNC because that was never the case. But yeah, so after you submit that paperwork, you'll try to set up like a visit with whatever school that you're looking to visit to. And it's kind of like an official visit, like you're getting recruited all over again. So it's a pretty cool experience. And at that visit, you'll have meetings that you'll go through just to kind of get to know each other. You'll visit campus and you'll take a tour around campus so you get to know what you're getting yourself into. And then usually what's really cool at the end, usually at night, they take you to like event type space. And at Blacksburg, it was like a bowling alley with laser tag and arcade. So kind of like a spare time if you're familiar with the Greensboro area. So yeah, that was super cool, but that's all just to get to know each other, get to see if y'all are bond and can mesh well as a coaching staff and player. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like the red carpet is rolled out for you, so you have to weed through that and kind of see the real in it. But yeah, it's like you're getting recruited all over again, and you go on different visits. And for me, I only went on one visit, that Virginia Tech visit to Blacksburg, and I had the opportunity to go on others, but it was honestly a blessing that it was easier for me because it's not as easy for other athletes because they don't have that prior relationship with the coaching staff, and they have to go through multiple schools to see which one to get the best vibe at. And yeah, I even knew earlier than I made it public that I was going to Virginia Tech because that when the portal opened, just say that Thursday, that following weekend, I went to Virginia Tech. So that was like 3 days. And after the visit, like I just
Yeah.
needed maybe like 1 or 2 days to confirm like what I was feeling was real. But yeah, I mean, I knew even before I posted, so it was a relatively quick process.
I figured you probably did. I know the way you're wired. So I was like, I don't think it was like a split like decision, like, oh, let's just go to Virginia Tech. Like I figured knowing your mom and dad, like I knew it was a calculated kind of, yeah, let's do this. Let's go over there to Virginia Tech. Now, I saw you earlier this week in Kernersville back at East Forsyth, cheering on for, well, did you and Isaiah Edwards play together? Because I know he's younger than Elijah. Did you guys ever play together at East?
So that was that year where he was able to play in the playoff games, but in the beginning of the year, he was not able to at first.
He got hurt, right? Yeah. So and he did make it back in time for the playoffs. So that was 2 years ago. So that would have been your senior year. So he was a sophomore, like during that. So you and Elijah were seniors, I believe, during that year, right?
Okay, I think we're back. That was
Oh yeah, there you go.
all right. So to answer your question, that was that year where he didn't play in the regular season, but was able to play in the playoffs.
Right. So it was your senior year. I guess Elijah was a senior that year too. And then
Right.
and Isaiah was a sophomore. So you actually were back in town cheering on Isaiah as he signed a letter of intent or a letter of commitment to Mars Hill. East Forsyth head coach Todd Willard, who's a really good friend of mine, as you know, I help run the East Forsyth Sports Network. He is very close to his former players and vice versa. I see kids come back all the time from different classes and groups, different success groups that had conference championships, deep playoff runs, state championships, you name it. They all come back at some point in time. He told me last week that he was in Blacksburg kind of helping with some of this. He actually sent me a picture of him and James Franklin and Danny O'Brien, who's a former quarterback at East Forsyth, who's now the quarterback coach over at Virginia Tech. So Eagle pride runs deep all over the place right now. How big is the relationship with Coach Willard, not just you, but the Baker family? And how instrumental was he in helping you kind of come to this decision with Virginia Tech?
Yeah, Coach Willard and I had lunch before my visit about 3 days before and just talked about kind of my lessons learned from Carolina and what I'm getting myself into regarding Virginia Tech, just because he knows the people so well at Virginia Tech. And what I appreciate about Coach Willard is him not trying to force the issue on any of the decisions and just respecting kind of my perspective and just being a really good listener, and the fact of just giving me his perspective, but not pushing me regarding you should go there, you should do this because this is going to happen. Because at the end of the day, we just have to have faith that God's in ultimate control and that he's going to help us, because at the end of the day, we don't know what may happen in the future. But yeah, I think we had that lunch and he was able to help me kind of put together the vibe I would get at Virginia Tech, the development wise, investment level wise. And what I really appreciate and what he was spot on about is how passionate they are at Virginia Tech about wanting to be really good, wanting to be the best at their job, and in return, wanting the team to be the best it can be.
The last week, and I'll get you out of here on this one here. Bryce Baker joining us here on the Desmond Johnson Show. Last week, we saw another former East Forsyth Eagle alum, junior wide receiver Quayshawn Brown, who was at Duke. He decided to leave Duke via the portal and come to find out he'll be coming to Virginia Tech too next year.
Yeah.
Now, you guys didn't play with each other. I believe Q is 2 years older than you. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So he's 2 years old. So he was in the group with like Jalen Rayner and those guys before you became the starter as a junior at East. He graduated the year prior, so you didn't get a chance to really throw the ball to Q, which would have been insane. But now you guys are going to end up at Virginia Tech together. I'm pretty sure you guys know each other, being part of the Eagle football family. Did you guys have any discussions about linking up anywhere, or did the conversation pop up that, hey, I'm going to Virginia Tech. Hey, I might go Virginia Tech too. Like, did you guys talk about that at all, or is this coincidence that Q ended up at VT with you?
Yeah, I say about 2 days he let me know when he was going to take a visit to Virginia Tech. And when I saw that he was hitting the portal, it was kind of like a question of why at first, because I thought his Duke situation was a good situation, but it was just different things behind the scenes that didn't really mesh well with him, which I totally understand. Same here at UNC. But yeah, he let me know he was going on the visit, and by then, that time I committed. It just wasn't public yet, so I let him know truthfully, not trying to, hey, you should do this, you should do that, but just letting him know why I committed, and the things that stuck out to me about Virginia Tech. And he went on his visit and really enjoyed it. And that night of his visit, we FaceTimed, and he seemed like he really enjoyed it, and he was really just high on that. They really value him there, and that he would just be a big piece. And that the coaching staff is really looking for someone like him. So, yeah, I mean, we connected through that, and we plan to have a lot more connections relatively soon as we both get on campus soon and, throwing a lot, getting that rolling.
I know Kernersville's going to be excited. You're going to turn Kernersville into, what's the colors for Virginia Tech? Like maroon and gold? Is that what it is? Kind of like, it's going to be maroon and gold all over the place in K-Vegas with everybody cheering on. Yeah. So, we got that there. Now, one of the things I'm doing this week, it is the lead into the national championship. So every guest I've had on the show this week, regardless of why they're here, I'm asking them, who do they got? Miami. Or okay, so you're going for the Canes. Okay, so Miami. See, I'm old school, right? You know what I mean? I'm older, so like I remember the dominant early 2000 Miami Hurricanes that had like 40 pros on their on the roster or whatever for over the course of like 2 or 3 years. There's something about this Indiana team though that it's like America's getting drawn to them because they're not supposed to be here. It's a lot of 2-star, 3-star kids that a lot of them followed Kurt Cinetti from James Madison. It's just crazy what they're doing because they're kind of upending college football. Like it's making it where it's not just Alabama, Georgia, somebody from SEC, and then everybody else or whatever. Like it's really this year, it felt like it really opened up in terms of being able to compete for a national championship. I feel like Virginia Tech's in a great position to be able to do this in the ACC. But you said you got Miami. What is it about Miami that you feel like they're going to be able to overwhelm this Indiana team that's overwhelmed pretty much every blue blood that's been in front of them so far?
I wouldn't say they're gonna overwhelm them. I would just say that I'm rooting for them. They're ACC, so just rooting for the ACC.
Okay, there you go. Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah, that's about it. Because
I don't want to be like a week from now texting you, be like, man, look. Why Miami lose to Indiana 55-26 or whatever ends up being because Indiana's just throwing these crazy scores out and it's like a video game. So I don't know.
Yeah, they did a thing versus Oregon. I really like their culture and Cignetti's mindset and mental approach about everything. I think it's a very good atmosphere.
Yeah, and he's kind of he's from the Nick Saban coaching tree. Actually, Mario Cristobal is too. Actually, all 4 of the coaches that were in the Final Four from Nick Saban's tree. Yeah, that's insanity. So like they kind of share some of the same qualities. And it's funny, when I started my career here in radio around 2018, Cignetti was at Elon. So like we would talk to him. We knew him. He was on the radio with us, once or twice every couple of months. And Elon was a good team. Yeah. So he was there. He was at Kent State. His last stop was James Madison, which is crazy because James Madison was in the playoff this year. And like he left 2 years ago and they still had enough talent to get to the college football playoff, which is crazy too. But just insanity. But I want to wish you the best of luck. I've always told my buddy and booth partner Rod Funderburk, who's been calling East Forsyth games for us for 7 years now. I think we've been on 7 or 8 years in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've been here for a hot minute, and we bleed East Forsyth Eagle blue and gold or blue and white. And I've told him, and I've told you before too. There's only a couple of kids that I felt like if they worked hard and persevered and continued on through college, that I could see them playing on Sundays. And I can see you playing on Sunday. And I really mean that. And Q's actually know, and I've told him that. It's like, I've seen the stuff in you guys where I know I'm going to see you play on Saturday. But I think if you keep working at it and get in a good situation and just keep being who you are, like the guys that I know who you are, they're going to be determined, and you come home and being humble and everything else. Both of you guys are in that same kind of fabric. And I feel like if you keep pushing and keep doing what you're doing, that we could see you on Sunday. So keep going, keep pushing for that goal. And just know that, you got an entire Eagle fan base here rooting for you guys going forward. And, you always can come home. So definitely come through, come see some football, come see some basketball, and come hang out with us. But anything you want to say to Eagle Nation before you get out of here?
I will say to hit on that Sean aspect. We got to get him to have a big year this year so we can get that man in the league.
Yeah, he got to go. He got to go. He just had that huge Mayo Bowl game. So, I mean, I thought that's what kind of tipped off everything. Yeah, so so you're ready to go too. Shout out to Nikki, Q's mom, and the entire Brown family over there too. But that's Bryce Baker. We're gonna get out of here. It's the end of this week's show. We'll see you guys next week on Tuesday. David Glenn will be with me. We will recap the college football national championship. We'll recap the divisional round from the NFL playoffs and much, much more. So we'll see you guys then. It's the Desmond Johnson Show.